Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Oregon City Council regular meeting for September 9th of 2024. If you'd all join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. To lead off, Ms. Ross, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mrs. Ackerman? Here. Mr. Drake?
Here.
Mr. Horniak?
Here.
Mrs. Paula?
Here.
Mr. Reeves?
Here.
Mr. Salander?
Here.
Mr. Wallensack?
Here. Thank you, council. Please note all members are present for this evening's meeting. In addition, joining us is Mayor Michael Safarian, City Administrator Joel Mazer, Clerk of Council Cassie Rawson, Law Director Melissa Proporo, Public Service Director Paul Roman, Police Chief Brandon Began, Assistant Police Chief Ryan Spangler, Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien, Assistant Chief Mark Mullins, and Finance Director Nick Roman. Council, the first item to be considered on the agenda this evening is approval of the minutes from the August 26, 2024 regular council meeting. Council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
I move for passage of, for the approval of the minutes from the August 26th, 2024 regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Second. Seconded by Mr. Drake. We have a motion by Mr. Reeves, seconded by Mr. Drake for approval of the minutes. Council, any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as presented. Next item on the list is persons and delegations. We do have a few people signed in for this evening. Just as a reminder to council members as well as for the folks that come up this evening, we do stream all of our meetings. So it's important that we're all addressing the microphones as we're speaking to make sure that that voice is carried in through the video streaming service so that everybody can hear what we're talking about. So I'd remind all members of council and administration, as well as our guests who will be speaking tonight, just to make sure that you're speaking into the microphones and you have your microphones turned on anytime that you do want to speak. So with that said, I'm very pleased to announce our first person coming in, which is Jennifer from Isaiah House 117. To go ahead and spend a few minutes explaining to us a little bit about the organization and the project. And we'll ask you just again to state your name and your address for the record, please.
My address?
Mhm.
All right, my name is Jennifer Bonzak, and I live at 1058 Elm Street in Perrysburg. I'm here today to talk about, now I did send a PowerPoint. Is that not going to be here? And that's fine if it's not, I'll just go for it. Nope. All right, good stuff. So I'm here today to share with you about Isaiah 117 House. I've been a foster mom for 12 years, and this is actually Rebecca here with me as well. And she works at Lucas County Children's Services for I don't even know how many years. 18 years. And we are here to talk about Isaiah 117 House as foster parents as well as working with the agency. We've had a lot of time to see what removal day looks like for children coming into care right now in Lucas County. In 2020, I saw a video by a woman of the name of Rhonda, and she started an Isaiah 117 House down in Elizabethton, Tennessee. I saw this video and I knew that we needed to get involved. I knew that we needed a house here in Lucas County, but I didn't exactly know how to make it happen. And I did nothing. But as time went by, I was down at Lucas County Children's Services one day, and I saw a little boy sitting next to the security office when you walk in. He was sitting next to the security office with that iconic trash bag that a person has that when they come into care, that has pretty much all their worldly belongings in it. And he was sitting next to two security guards that had scan everybody when they walk into the room, and next to a window with two more security guards in it. And this young boy, probably no more than 8 or 10, was sitting by himself in a chair with nobody around him, waiting probably for the adults to get done talking in the room that he was next to figure out what's going to happen, where he goes next, and what's going to happen with him. Unfortunately, this isn't a news story or a rare story. When kids are coming into care right now, they're being taken down to Lucas County Children's Services, and they wait, which can be hours or even sometimes days to find a placement for these children. And with an Isaiah 117 House, what we want to do is correct a situation. We can't fix a broken foster care system, but we can take one part of it and make it a lot better. Isaiah 117 House is a threefold mission to reduce trauma on the day that kids are coming into care. So that when they're coming into care, instead of going down to an office building and waiting and sleeping on floors and eating out of vending machines, we can take them to a home where they're greeted by name, where we can team up with a staff of loving volunteers that will play games with them, bake cookies with them, clean them up, get them dressed into some fresh, clean clothes, and get them situated until their foster home is found. We're also here to love on our caseworkers because the caseworkers themselves have a very impossible job. They are every day asked to take care of children coming into care and find homes for them. And just to kind of throw out some numbers, right now in Lucas County, we have over 820 kids in foster care. We have under 160 homes. That means there's only 160 foster care homes for Lucas County to call out to and say, hey, we need to place these kids today. Can you fit more in your home? And with that task, it becomes harder and harder. And that's why they're calling it literally all over the state of Ohio to find homes for children that are coming into care in Lucas County. But with an Isaiah 117 house, it kind of reduces that day and takes it away from the caseworkers to have to keep an eye on the children as well as trying to find a placement for the children. So caseworkers are doing their job now, and we are loving on those kids with our volunteers and our staff there. I will tell you that I am getting a little thrown off. I accepted that there was now a PowerPoint, but it's kind of throwing me off to do this all freelance, but I'm going to keep running with this. But so it's a threefold mission. We want to love on our caseworkers and lighten their load so that when kids are coming into care, we're taking care of them, not the caseworkers, so that they can do their job and find the best placement for our children. And then the final thing is our foster parents. Right now, when kids are coming into care, it's hard for some families to say yes to multiple sibling groups. They might not have the beds that are needed, the car seats that are needed, the cribs that are needed, the dressers that are needed, or otherwise clothes or any other thing, diapers, wipes, formula, name it. And when kids come to a foster parent like myself, that day it's crazy. So we get a call and they're like, okay, we've got a sibling group of 4 and their ages are this, this, and this. And you're in your brain, you're already thinking to myself, okay, can I fit them in my car, first of all? Do I have enough room in my car to take in 4 kids? And if I do I have enough car seats for the appropriate ages? Do I have car carriers if there's infants? Do I have adjustable car seats if they're bigger kids? Isaiah 117 is taking that load off of the foster parents and saying, if you have the ability to say yes, we will make sure you have what you need to be able to say yes, whether it's car seats, beds, cribs, diapers, wipes, formula, the whole gamut. We have a giving room that's full of supplies for every child to leave our home with over $300 worth of clothing and shoes, backpacks, school supplies, and whatnot. And that is what we are doing. We have been gifted land by Jenna Cross Lutheran Services here in Oregon, and that's why I'm here, because Oregon is the address of where we would like to build the Isaiah 117 house. We have 2 builders. Jim Moline has been with us since probably March. He reached out to me and said, hey, I heard what you guys are doing, and I would really love to be the builder, the general contractor for the Isaiah 117 house. And he has been on the hunt for land for us. He has been such a champion for this cause. And then we have another builder that has recently stepped forward, which is Ridgestone Builders out of Perrysburg, the Gruber family, who I know builds a lot of houses around this area too. But they have also said that they would like to build us a house. So right now what we are here to do is present Isaiah 117 so you can have an understanding of what it is that we're trying to do. So that when we do bring it to your attention for building permits, for whatever it is that we're going to need, that you guys will have an understanding of what we are doing and allow you guys to ask questions to us as well. I'm going to let Rebecca fill in some of the holes that I just missed, because there's a lot of boulders in there. And then we can answer any questions anybody might have.
Actually, I think you did a very good job. So yeah, I've worked at Lucas County Children's Services for the past over 18 years. And so I have seen the other side of where Jennifer, is taking these children. We are the ones pulling from their homes and see that they have nothing with them. Sometimes they're very dirty. They have nothing. They come with sometimes not even clothes on their backs. So this is a way to kind of make that, yes, a little easier for foster parents, not just foster parents, but any relative families that we might have. So we just want to make that an easier transition. We want to make removal day what could be one of the worst days of their lives. Their whole life is being turned upside down because regardless of how bad the situation is, it's all they know. So they don't know any different. So we want to try to make this a smoother transition for them, a better situation for them, so it's not so traumatic. So I don't know if you guys have any questions about what we're trying to do, but we are doing a fundraiser here coming up in October. So we're asking people to host tables. It doesn't cost you anything to host. We're just trying to get people there so that they can see what we're all about and how they can get involved. So
And honestly, beyond hosting, again, we would love to have the opportunity for any one of you guys, law enforcement, the fire department around here, the council. We would love to have every single one of you as our guests to come and hear Rhonda talk. She's way better at this public speaking than I am.
amazing.
She is. But it does give you a much clearer outline of what we're doing. But the bottom line is that we are building a home. What if there was a home? A home that on removal day, kids didn't have to go down to an agency. They didn't have to eat from vending machine foods. We can clean them up. We can de-lice them because there's a lot of them that come with lice. We can get them all situated. And most importantly, we can take, like Rebecca said, one of the hardest days of their life, and we can make it just a little bit better with playing with them instead of sitting them outside of a security office, because most kids that probably sit outside of security offices probably think that they already did something wrong. And they didn't do anything wrong. They're there because we're trying to keep them safe. Any questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation.
I appreciate it.
And what I would share as well is if you would get the dates and the information
Yes,
to Ms. Rawson, she'll share that in our community events.
I would
and
love
certainly
that.
broadcast and put that out there for you. Certainly a worthwhile event in that. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about timeline, plans. I mean, how does
Thank you.
this all come together?
okay. Yeah, so right now like I said, we've been offered land. Right now we're working on getting a survey. The piece of land is coming from a larger parcel of land, so it's got to be split off. Once we get that survey, we have a set of plans already drawn up for the piece of property. So that's, at that point, we'll be submitting them to the city of Oregon for approval, for plans and specs, to get our building permits. And then as far as a timeline, shortly thereafter, which I shared with you earlier, we'll have what we refer to as a let's build this house breakfast for inviting all the contractors, subcontractors, businesses that offer building supplies. We want to bring them all together, again, to hear about Isaiah 117 so that in an effort to get the cost of the construction covered. That's the whole goal. Beyond that, once we get that taken care of and checked off of our plate, we are going to move forward towards groundbreaking. Ideally, depending on how long it takes to get plans, approved and building permits in hand. Once we get our building permits in hand, we're going to schedule a groundbreaking. I hope. I don't know what the timeline is for getting plans and specs approved and building permits these days, but it's been a long time since I built a house. But my hope is that by the end of this year, before January, we're going to break ground. Yes. So that's kind of the idea. And then it's up to the builders how long it takes to build the house. It's a Cape Cod style house. The bottom floor of it has 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It has an office that's all windowed for the caseworkers to work from with their own bathroom, their own personal bathroom. It's set up just like a home. It is a home. It's not just like a home. It is a home. The upstairs of the Cape Cod is an open style home area. It's a giving room. It's full, and I mean full of anything size-wise, that clothing that any child could need, from coats, shoes, clothing, fuzzy blankets, backpacks, school supplies, bracelets, sunglasses. I've seen and some fun stuff like that in some of the houses that I've toured so far. But that's the idea, is that we're going to stock that house so that when the kids come into care, they can go shopping and have some fun. Yep. But that's kind of an idea of the timeline.
Very good. Thank you. Any council members or administration, any questions? Very none, thank you.
All right, well,
Very
thank you for your
worthwhile.
time.
Appreciate you coming in this evening. Well, I think they're still working on the land right now. I think the land has been gifted from Luther Society, right? Lutheran Society. And, yep, so they're working on it at this point to, I'll say, move that along and move into, I'll say, a building precondition. So thank you very much for being here. Next on the list, we have Steve Dunaway. And again, Steve, we'll ask you to come up and state your name and your address for the record. And as always, we'll kind of give you a little tap around 3-4 minutes so we can stay on pace and give everybody a chance. Mr. Dunaway?
I'll try to stay on pace.
Okay.
Okay, Steve Dunaway, 24 South Coy. First, a little bit of housekeeping. Little bit on Facebook. Some people on this council think that I am working for other people on this council to pick on them. I'm half Irish. We're equal opportunity. I'm going to pick on all of you. Ain't nobody on this council has asked me to come forward to do any talking for the fire department, nor have they done it. I'm doing it out of a passion that those people that in this fire department, like I said before, saved my son's life. And I'm not backing off. So I'm here to do a little housekeeping with some stuff I've said and with the fact that this city is going to be working on their budget. I'm going to watch very careful to make sure that what I'm going to ask you to do is done. Had some meetings with some people with the city, had a nice little talk with finance on how finances work for a city. Basically, you guys spend what you take in, and I'd expect you to do that. I don't think this city has spent money not wisely over the last 15, 20 years. Don't keep coming at me on a Facebook post. Well, what happened 4 years ago? What happened 5 years ago? I don't worry about what happened yesterday, just what's happening now. You people have done due diligence keeping this city very well maintained. And why? Oh, I might not have a Starbucks close by. I have water lines where the water comes out. I have roads that don't gobble up my car. We've taken care of flooding situations and things. We just have a minor problem with our fire department. So on that order, I am asking, we hired 10 part-time firemen. They are being paid out of reserve funds. If you're paying real close attention, especially if you listen to WSPD this morning, which all you council people should have, when they were talking about the county being bankrupt, we're not getting no help from them. If anything, we're going to get bills from them when we incarcerate people downtown. And so you just take that into thing. Firemen, anything emergency management should not be in the reserve funds. I want to see it as a line item in the general budget of this city. If you have to take other things out of the general fund and moved over into the reserve to make sure that in the regular accounts for the city, those things that are important to the city operation is there, so that we have firemen and we have police and we have people to fix the water when it breaks, all well and good. And if it means taking the wreck out of the general fund, take the wreck out. If it means taking rubbish out and putting it into the reserve funds, put the rubbish out. We're going to take care of what's important and make sure that firemen, and our two councilmen down there said they want to make sure that EMS is funded. And I'm going to keep you to that. Firemen are going to be funded in this city, so there's no chance of laying them off. You know, absolutely. I want to tell you something that I have found out. With our present staffing and the calls that we are making, the chance of having 8 people in that fire station are nil, because the paramedics and the advanced EMTs are always out of the building. That means if you have a fire in your house, most likely what's going to happen, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to have about 4 firemen show up with a pumper truck to put it out. And I've been complaining about what our response will be to refineries. Oh, I haven't even started on the underground pipelines, the Marathon Distribution Center, and all this other stuff that can blow up. we're going to bring this fire station up to proper manning. And we need revenue to do that. We need factories, and we need factories that pay high wages, not fast food restaurants that pay minimum wage. We need to take advantage, and we should have taken advantage to letting the taxpayer decide on a tax increase. That was wrong. You took my right away from me on something that you couldn't raise. Everybody that voted no, this is a republic. In a republic, we're coming up to Constitution Day. It's about the vote. You took that from me and wouldn't let me vote on it. And I'm mad. And I'm going to stay mad because we are going to man a fire department. And it's going to be manned correctly. And we're going to have an equal response. Little thing I found out, don't think that these refineries are ever going to go away. We have now been, the federal government of our country has now determined that from right here in the city of Oregon over to Pennsylvania into West Virginia, we are sitting on the third largest reserve of natural gas and oil in the world. And another tidbit off of the state website. Our refineries, 3 refineries, and the exploration of oil and natural gas in the state of Ohio comprises 1/10 of our gross domestic product for the state of Ohio to the tune of $58 billion a year. No reason we can't ask the state to help us with our fire department. They've got the money.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Dunaway. Next on our list, we have Tom Lambert. Tom? And again, we'll just ask you to state your name and your address for the record, please, Tom.
Tom Lambrick, 5238 Seaman Road. I was in front of council about a month or so back about the lights on the west side of the building here. They said they adjusted them. It doesn't appear to have any difference. I'm at the point now where either shut them off or point them due south. Because they're shining right in the back of my property. I can't enjoy myself in the back of my property. I usually have a little fire, cook hot dogs, sit back there, enjoy myself. I can't do that now. The light shines directly in my face. I've talked to Paul, talked to Joel, talked to Keith. Keith said that he sent the maintenance guy out there to change the direction. I haven't noticed any change. I know some people in Eaton Park, they had to go out and buy blackout blinds for the back of their house because the lights were shining in the back of their house. Something needs to be done. You know, if you move the direction of the lights towards the south, it's going to make a difference. If you can't do that, they need to be shut off. So, I mean, that's where I'm at with it. So thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. Any reply or information?
Yes,
Go ahead,
Mr. President. Yep. So I did talk with Keith Henninger. He said he did adjust them. He tilted them downward. I did speak with Tom. We did talk again after they were adjusted. I did speak with Keith again, and I'll touch base with him again, see yet again another time to see what other solutions we can come up with so that they aren't bothering the neighbors on the backside of the streets building.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mazur. Thank you all who addressed and joined council this evening. Moving on into our agenda for the evening, council, we did not have a committee of the whole meeting last week, so we will need to add items 151, 152, 153, and 154 to tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Pauloff. We have a motion by Mr. Reeves, second by Mrs. Pauloff. Council, any objections? Hearing none, all 4 items are added to the agenda. First item on for tonight's consideration is item 151 of 2024, presented by Mayor Michael Safarian and Public Service Director Paul Roman. And Mr. Roman, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is needed to submit a grant application to the Ohio Public Works Commission to help fund the Navarre Avenue Safety Improvement Project. The draft application is included in Exhibit A. And I know council is well aware of this, but for the purpose of presenting this ordinance, the project is on Navarre Avenue from Isaac Streets Drive to 200 feet west of Coy. Project includes a median barrier similar to past projects, 2 new traffic lights, one at Harbor Drive and the other one at Kroger's. to their entrance drive. And then the third is actually relocated from Big Lots and Ralphie's to Kingston Court. And that is what's truly warranted for traffic lights on Navarre Avenue. The traffic light intersections will actually have bulb outs or widening to accommodate U-turns. Will include crosswalks for pedestrians along with pedestrian signals. The project is fully designed and we are in the right-of-way acquisition phase. Project was certainly in the budget. The projected cost at this time is $6.9 million for this improvement. We did receive $5 million in grant funding from ODOT as safety grant funding. We received another $600,000 from ODOT for the urban paving program. So that's $5.6 million there. And with OPWC, we're requesting an additional $592,000 in grant funding. So if we're successful with that, then our total cost for the project will be just under $700,000 or approximately 10% of the project. So, which is good news. Before, I think when we talked in past budget meetings, we talked about bonding and whether we'd need a loan for the local match. But I think at this point, I think we'll be able to survive this without bonding. So, but anyways, be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council. Hearing no questions, I will assign item 151 of 2024 as ordinance 151 of 2024 and ask Ms. Rawson to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor to submit applications to the Ohio Public Works Commission for financial assistance from the State Capital Improvements Fund and the Local Transportation Improvement Program Fund, and to execute contracts for approved funding from said funds/programs and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Rawson. Council.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wolzak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 151 of 2024 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Wolzak.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Reeves. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. We have a motion by Mr. Wolzak, seconded by Mr. Reeves for ordinance 151 of 2024. Ms. Rawson, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mrs. Paula,
Yes.
Mr. Sounder.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Ordinance 151 of 2024 does pass with a vote of 7 yeas and 0 nays. Moving on to item 152 of 2024, and again, we'll go to Mr. Roman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is needed to close out the Ember Drive reconstruction project, which was just completed by Geo Grotto Company. This first and final change order is $13,010.68. Change order description and breakdown in costs are included in Exhibit A. Bulk of the changes is really due to having Ember Drive having a very poor subgrade. More excavation and stone was needed to provide the base or support of the road, as well as adding a geogrid, which is really just a plastic reinforcement. There was also, we ran into a problem with the slope from the sidewalk to the curb, and with asphalt drives, the original project was just going 2 feet in back of curb, replacing just that asphalt. But to provide a proper fall, it was best to go from the curb all the way to the sidewalk, which actually is more aesthetically pleasing as well, but it certainly could be supported for the slope. So that's the bulk. That is pretty much it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, any questions on item 152? Hearing none, I will assign item 152 of 2024 as ordinance 152 of 2024 and ask Ms. Rawson to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor, director of public service, and finance director to sign change order number 1 with Geo Grotto Co., 3135 Front Street, Toledo, Ohio, in an amount of a net contract addition of $13,010.68 due to additional work related to the Ember Drive Reconstruction 2023 project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Rawson. Council.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wolzak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 152 of 2024 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Wolzak.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Drake. Thank you, Mr. Drake. We have a motion by Mr. Wolzak, seconded by Mr. Drake for ordinance 152 of 2024. Ms. Ross, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallensack,
Yes.
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mrs. Paula,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Sounder.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Ordinance 152 of 2024 does pass with a vote of 7 yeas and 0 nays. Moving on into the agenda to item 153 of 2024, presented again by Mayor Michael Safarian and Finance Director Nick Roman, and we'll go to Mr. Roman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance would allow us to enter into an agreement with Innovative Software for online income tax filing software and services. We have used Innovative Software since 2008 for in-house software for income tax. We've been hoping to find an online service that citizens can use to go online, see their account, make payments, see if there's anything late. And they finally came out with a product that can do that. We've had great communication and relationship with them since we've had them. It would be $15,000 annually with a one-time setup cost of $7,500. If there's any questions on it, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, any questions on item 153 of 2024?
Mr. President,
Mrs. Ackerman.
would, Mr. Roman, would you still continue to stay open like you do and
Absolutely,
help
yes.
and assist people that come in?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the main reasons that we have wanted this is because on tax day, April 15th, we have a long line all the way down the hallway, and majority of people are asking for some way to file online. So a lot of the softwares that the individual income tax provider filers have works with this software as well. So it's really easy for, if you go and get your taxes done, for them to upload it into our system as well. But yes, we will definitely have the in-house helping people file as well still.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Thank you, Ms. Ackerman. Council, any additional questions?
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallenzeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Roman, in entering into this agreement with Innovative Software Services, have we looked into their history for cybersecurity to make sure that our residents have some protection for, I know you can't protect it from everything, but is there any history of it? Have they had any issues?
So this is actually a new service by them. So I know that they haven't had any issues, but again, it is a new software for them. They haven't had the online. So I guess the answer would be no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Thank you, Mr. Wallenzeck. Council, any additional questions? Hearing none, I will assign item 153 of 2024 as ordinance 153 of 2024 and ask Ms. Rawson to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor, tax administrator, and finance director to enter into an agreement with Innovative Software Services, Inc., P.O. Box 70, Eaton Rapids, Michigan, to provide online income tax filing software and services.
Thank you, Ms. Rawson. Council,
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallenzeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 153 of 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Wallenzeck.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Reeves. We have a motion by Mr. Wallenzeck, seconded by Mr. Reeves for ordinance 153 of 2024. Ms. Rawson, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallenzeck,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mrs. Paula,
Yes.
Mr. Slander.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Ordinance 153 of 2024 does pass with a vote of 70 yeas and 0 nays. Moving on to the last item on our agenda, which is item 154 of 2024, again presented by Mayor Michael Safarian and Police Chief Brandon Began, and we'll go to Chief Began.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is necessary to use funds from the Drug Law Enforcement and Education Fund to purchase 4 in-car radar units for our police cruisers. The total of each one is $2,558 for a total of $10,232, and that is state contract pricing.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Council, any questions on item 154 of 2024? Hearing none, I will assign item 154 of 2024 as ordinance 154 of 2024 and ask Ms. Rawson to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to approve the use of funds from the Drug Law Enforcement and Education Fund and to issue a purchase order to MPH Industries, 316 East 9th Street, Owensboro, Kentucky, for the purchase of 4 radars and accessories to be used in the Oregon Police Division and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Rawson. Council,
Mr. President,
Mrs. Pollock.
I move for passage of ordinance 154 of 2024 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mrs. Pollock.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Slander. Thank you, Mr. Slander. We have a motion by Mrs. Pollock, seconded by Mr. Slander for ordinance 154 of 2024. Ms. Rawson, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mrs. Paula,
Yes.
Mr. Slander,
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman, Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Horniak,
Yes.
Mr. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzeck.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Ordinance 154 of 2024 passes with a vote of 7 yeas and 0 nays. That'll conclude the items for consideration this evening. We'll move on to the mayor's report. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I really didn't have anything to say on a report today other than, Jennifer, when you came up and you said you didn't have your PowerPoint presentation, what you did there from the cup showed passion, and I think is a way better presentation than any PowerPoint could bring. So,
Absolutely.
no, you didn't. No, because it comes off, I mean, you look at it, it reminds me of being in school. You push the button, see the thing change. I always hated that. All right. No, you did fine. I appreciate that. And with that, I then report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mazer?
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of items. The pickleballers will be playing tonight. I know it's still a little bit light out, but if you're around here at night, you want to check out the lights on the pickleball courts. They should still be playing. So talked to Judge Petroff about that earlier today. So he's going to be out there playing too. Also, the comprehensive plan survey is done. We should be rolling that out. So hopefully we can start sending that out to advertising it into the public so we can start getting feedback to get the public input we need for the plan. And that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazer. Ms. Purpura?
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Purpura. Mr. Roman?
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Mr. Reeves?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report from my standing committee. I would assume Mr. Drake will talk about the Special Olympic softball that took place here Saturday. So I am going to call a meeting for Mr. Drake because I will run that as a committee chair next Monday, September 16th at 6 p.m. We'll hold it here in council chambers, not in the conference room. And the purpose of the meeting is discuss whether the city should renew the current refuge collection contract with Republic or go out to bid for a new contract. So we'll hold that here next week at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. And Ms. Ross will make sure that she adds that to the information in the postings. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Ms. Pollock?
Thank you, Mr. President. On the police side, I went around on my, I do it twice a year. I go on a ride along, and on August 27, I went with Officer Childress, and it was really great to see for an officer that has been here for 1 year, the knowledge that he had and the things that he did. There was a severe thunderstorm that came in and down power lines, down trees, and they didn't miss a beat. It was really impressive, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, and kudos to your crew. To the fire department, I have a question. We had the Special Olympics here on Saturday. How many part-time firefighters were in attendance with that? Do you have a number?
2.
2? Okay. So I do know that there has been a lot of questions about transparency, and a lot of questions have been given to me about when did problems start? And I appreciate that question. So I did some homework, and I have right here, if anyone on the safety committee, council, anyone wants a copy, I'm happy to share it. It's the arbitration between the Part-Time Firefighters Association and the City of Oregon. This hearing took place on January 29th, 2020, and it explains everything, all the issues, what started, why they hired certain people to do certain things. And it really does give a great explanation. It's a great read. So I encourage all of you to look at it and see what really did happen over 4 or 5 years ago. I think it goes back, there are some statements from 2011 all the way up to 2020. So if anyone wants a copy, let me know. I'll be glad to give it to you. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Pollock. Mr. Walenzak?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing from my standing committee, but I did want to mention Judge Petroff was here earlier, and he mentioned on September 21st, the day of the Honey Festival, they're going to have up to 7 professional instructors. at the pickleball courts to teach those people new to pickleball the rules and how to play the game. So I'd like to start getting that word out. The pickleball courts have been full nearly every night. So it has been a huge success for the city. But those people that do want to learn the rules of pickleball, they'll have rackets and balls and the instructors there to teach you how to play pickleball. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wallenczak. Ms. Sackerman.
From the tree commission for my standing committee, which I guess are kind of intertwined, we are formulating an adopt a tree program. If anyone has any suggestions about needs in the city, you see an area that we're gonna try to get away from the right-of-way plannings and encourage property owners with more area that's healthier for the tree we're gonna try to set them up, but we're looking at different cities and how they're operating, so we can not have to reinvent the wheel with it. Last Friday, I had wanted to do this all summer, so I thought I'd pick a nice hot day to ride along with Republic, with Mr. Brand. And I did about the whole rowdy pick me up out here, and normally, and Mr. Dunaway will attest, I'm the first one to go, I did this, and this is what I learned, and this is what I want to share with you, and, throw it out there. It was such an eye-opening experience that I just sort of had to take it in for a few days and process what I saw that day. And I encourage everybody to do this for the day. I went all the way to the dump and with a load and came back with, did the whole 9 yards. And the public needs to be better educated. I think we could do a better job of getting information out. It's one person in a truck. It's not like when I was a kid, 2 guys are on the back, the driver's just driving. You got multiple guys picking up pieces of furniture. I watched this one guy get out, take a sofa with recliners on both ends and all the mechanisms and have to stand it up, get it to the curb, get it upright, get it within reach, wrestle this thing. It gets hung up on all the mechanisms, and he's out there having to fight with it. And it's eye-opening. And so for all the citizens that I saw that absolutely, through lack of education, lack of consideration, just no courtesy. I saw the best and the worst of people that day. I saw people that were out there helping because they knew they had put a significant amount out. I saw people that, I don't know what they think the garbage man's there to do, but you can't bother them to turn their tote toward the street and move it away from the tote next to it so that he can get at it. I mean, and the number one thing that bothered me was the yard waste. The tons and tons, and he said this was an easy week because it's been so dry, and to come along for a ride on a Tuesday after a rainy weekend, the amount of grass and twigs and everything, we've got to come up with a better way to handle the yard waste, other than, even if it's like, I was just in Tennessee this last week, and everyone in the city has the option to take, that it's not mandatory. They have the option to take all their yard waste to a central location. And so we're not paying to put tons of yard waste into a landfill, and it can be processed and utilized, repurposed. So I would encourage everybody to ride along with the garbage man. It was quite an experience, and I think our city needs to try harder to get the information out, just like we have the unlimited. They would like you to put out anything you have weekly, so that you don't have those heavier days of, the 2nd and 4th or whatever every other week. They said, please put it out as you have it, so we can spread that out, and it's easier on them to get it moved out. But anyway, if anybody has any questions about it, I really just didn't even, I wanted a firsthand experience to, I think I'm looking forward to riding along with the police and the fire because it's gotta smell better. Maybe, I hope, no, but,
That, I was gonna say, depends on the night, probably.
every day's different, right? So, but anyway, I do, and I think that chronic offenders in the city should, they should have to ride along. They should be made to ride along as, so they see that and they have a little bit of compassion and apply some courtesy to these people that are doing this service for our city. So, sorry, that was a long rant about garbage, but, thank you, Jennifer and Rebecca. And I'm sorry if I goofed up giving you the email address. Okay, because I was sick about, I was like, it was probably my screw up. She doesn't have this. So it wouldn't be the first time, but anyway. All right, well, you did great. So thank you. And I hope we can make this happen because it sounds like such a ministry all of us can get on board with and all of us can be proud to be part of. So looking forward to helping you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ackerman. Mr. Slander.
All right, I got to follow that. So I'll keep it shorter though. Nothing from my standing committee. I do want to thank you guys for coming out too with your presentation and everything. I know this has been a lot of work getting to this point and we're not done yet, or you're not done yet. So you got a lot to go, but yeah, thank you so much. I mean, you're changing lives, and it's just amazing. So thank you. Also, I did get a chance to get out and see a few games at the Special Olympics. I won't steal your thunder, but it was very cool, very neat to see. I've never seen it before, so it's nice to experience that as well. And lastly, I did get a chance to go out to the pickleball courts to take a look at them, and I did swing my paddle. I also played a little bit on there, so who needs rules? We don't need rules. I should probably learn some though, because I'm sure I was breaking some all over the place. But anyway, thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Slander. Mr. Drake.
No report from my committee. I just wanted to make it clear that my main role with the state Special Olympic softball games is to get umpires for it. It's very, very hard to get umpires for any sport now. And thank God they all showed up. The one guy hit a deer on his way from Findlay, but he still made it. But I just wanted to give a shout out to the city people that I know were there. Mark Mullins, he was there about 99% of the day. Keith Henninger, Kelly Moore, those two are part-timers. I believe Mark's a full-time. Jeff Costanza in the police department, Dave Kohler, Eric Weiss, and Councilman Dennis Wallenczak was able to make it. Steve Solander and Beth Eckerman, Tim Borton. I talked to him about the food. I know they've used Marco's Pizza before, and they just had pulled pork sandwiches, and he said they served over 325 of them. And he said he had no complaints or anything. Unfortunately, Lucas County, because it is set up, you play local games and then league games and then the state games. Lucas County was not able to make it out of the regionals. So there wasn't a huge following of Lucas County, but we had a few injuries. But other than that, everything went good. And I want to thank the administration for allowing them to come here. I know they appreciate it. And, the athletes love seeing the police and fire. I mean, some of them couldn't get away from them, but that's kind of the highlight of some of their games. So I just want to say thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. And I have nothing from my standing committee, but I would echo comments made earlier to Jennifer and Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you for coming out here. Thank you for the passion and the effort you're bringing into this. I've sat through presentations a couple different times, the meeting coming up, which is the luncheon kickoff, if you will, and main fundraising drive with that. When you think about the day that those children are going through, which is arguably the worst day they'll have in their lives, some semblance of comfort, some semblance of normalcy, being able to go someplace that has a chair or a couch or a bed as opposed to an office, as you mentioned, eating out of vending machines. I've heard those stories far too often. So thank you for the passion. We as a city certainly embrace it and want to help in what we can do to help drive that. And I know several people are going to stay involved with that process to see this come to fruition. So thank you for your efforts and your work on that tonight. And thanks to those who also came up to address council tonight. That said, I have nothing else before us yet this evening. I will seek a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Seconded by Ms. Paul. If council, any objections? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.